The Man's Guide to Women is a manual for men seeking to better understand and connect with women at any stage in a relationship. The authors argue that it's the man's actions that often dictate the success or failure of the relationship. Thus, the goal of this book is to help equip you with the knowledge and tools to build successful, thriving relationships with women. This book is for any man who hopes to understand his female partner better. The Man's Guide to Women is co-authored by couples John Gottman and Julie Schwartz Gottman, and Doug Abrams and Rachel Carlton Abrams. John Gottman and Julie Schwartz Gottman are best known for their work as founders of the Gottman Institute, a research and therapy center focused on strengthening relationships and preventing divorce. Their research inspired them to develop the Gottman method, a widely used approach to relationship counseling. The couple has written multiple books together, including The Love Prescription, 10 Lessons to Transform Your Marriage, and Baby Makes 3. Rachel Carlton Abrams, a physician and the author of Bodywise, is best known for her work in integrative women's health and sexuality. Her husband, Douglas Abrams, is an editor and founder of the literacy agency Idea Architects. He has co-authored several books with notable figures, including the Book of Joy, written in collaboration with His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu, and the Book of Hope, written with Jane Goodall. This guide will first cover women's basic needs in relationships. Then we'll offer advice for how to meet these needs at every stage in a relationship, from dating to starting a family. We'll supplement the author's advice with a range of perspectives on psychology, gender, love, and marriage from authors like Esther Perel, Mating in Captivity, Ian Kerner, She Comes First, and Rollo Tomassi, The Rational Male. What women need. Many men are mystified by women's wants and needs in romantic relationships. According to the authors, in romantic relationships, a woman's deepest need is to feel physically and emotionally secure. The authors argue that women's need for security is deeply rooted in their biological and cultural makeup. Short-form note: relationship therapist Esther Perel agrees that women and men value security in a relationship. However, in Mating in Captivity, Perel challenges the author's suggestion that this is women's dominant need. According to Perel, a sense of security in a long-term relationship is a wonderful thing, but security also tends to have a deadening effect on desire. Perel explains that the initial fear of losing your partner was part of what made the relationship exciting. Thus, women don't only want security, but a dynamic interplay of safety and risk within their relationships. The authors argue that as childbearers, women are biologically inclined toward partners who can provide protection and resources to ensure the survival and well-being of both the woman and her offspring. Meanwhile, societal norms often condition women to value emotional connection and communication, leading to an emphasis on emotional security in romantic relationships. Short-form note: Rebecca Traister, in All the Single Ladies, disagrees that women's choices in partners are predominantly driven by biological instincts to find resource providers and protectors. Traister argues that changes in society and culture, fueled by women gaining more economic and social freedom, are changing the way women choose their romantic partners. According to Traister, contemporary women are prioritizing personal values, ambitions, and self-fulfillment over the evolutionary imperative for security in the form of physical protection or financial stability. While women's need for security remains consistent, the way in which you meet that need will evolve. In the next section, we'll discuss how to meet women's needs at every stage of a relationship, from dating and sex to long-term commitment and starting a family. How to date a woman. With a basic understanding of women's needs in a relationship, it's time to focus on how you start a relationship. The authors explain that when you're first making a connection with a woman, you should pay attention to her nonverbal cues, be confident, and attuned to her. Pay attention to nonverbal cues. First, if you're interested in a woman, pay attention to her nonverbal cues. The authors explain that women give subtle signals and cues that, consciously or unconsciously, invite or discourage male attention. For example, a woman making extended eye contact with a man, smiling, or orienting her body toward him might be subtly inviting him to approach. On the flip side, a lack of eye contact, closed body language, or a lack of acknowledgement should discourage a man from approaching. Short-form note: nonverbal cues aren't culturally universal. What may be perceived as an invitation in one culture could be considered inappropriate or even aggressive in another. For example, in many Western cultures, direct eye contact is often interpreted as a sign of interest or attentiveness, which matches with the subtle cues inviting an approach in our guide. However, in some Asian and African cultures, prolonged eye contact, especially from a woman to a man, may be regarded as disrespectful or confrontational, thus completely altering the intended message of the signal. As you interpret someone's nonverbal cues, consider the cultural context to avoid potential miscommunication. Be confident. Women are more attracted to men who exude confidence. The authors explain that confidence isn't about arrogance or a sense of superiority, but about being comfortable in your own skin. Men who are genuine and authentic tend to be more attractive. A confident man isn't afraid to take up space, but he also respects others and treats them with kindness. For example, the authors explain that confident men aren't afraid to be physically affectionate with their friends and say how they feel, knowing that vulnerability isn't a sign of weakness. They are also comfortable making decisions or taking the lead in conversation, without dominating or disregarding the opinions of others. Short-form note: it's hard to exude confidence if you don't feel confident. According to Robert Glover, author of No More Mr. Nice Guy, to develop confidence, you need to start living for yourself instead of seeking validation from others. Glover says you can build confidence by prioritizing your personal needs, embracing vulnerability, and being honest with people. Glover also argues that living with integrity, aligning your actions with your values, will help you become comfortable and confident in who you are. Attune to her. Once you've initiated contact, you need to make a woman feel secure. According to the authors, women won't engage in a relationship unless they trust you with their emotional and physical safety. To establish this trust with women, the authors explain that you must attune to them. Attunement is about being fully emotionally and mentally present and demonstrating a genuine interest in understanding a woman's thoughts, feelings, and experiences. Attunement begins with attentive listening, actively paying attention to what the woman is saying without interrupting or forming judgments. Next, empathize with her feelings and try to see things from her perspective. Nonverbal signs of empathy, such as nodding or maintaining eye contact, can enhance this understanding. The third element of attunement is turning toward her, indicating full engagement in the interaction, both physically and emotionally. Lastly, respond with sensitivity and validate her feelings. For example, if a woman is telling you about a tough day at work, an attuned man might say, "That must have been tough. I understand why you're upset." You can emphasize your concern with eye contact or by touching her arm or leg. If she seems like she wants to talk about it more, ask open-ended questions like, "How did that make you feel?" Or, "What's your next step?" The importance of attunement in creating secure attachment. Attunement is as important in parent-child relationships as it is in romantic relationships. Attuning to your child will help you develop a strong, secure bond. In the context of parenting, attunement involves responding to a child's emotional needs in a way that's sensitive, supportive, and consistent. Studies show attuned parenting practices are linked with better emotional regulation and social competence in children. To attune to your child, practice actively listening to them without distraction, acknowledging their feelings without immediate judgment or dismissal, and engaging with them both physically, through comforting gestures, and verbally, with empathetic responses. For example, when a child is upset, an attuned parent might say, "I see you're really upset about this. It's okay to feel that way." This approach not only validates the child's feelings but also teaches them to understand and manage their emotions effectively. How to be a good sexual partner. Transitioning from establishing a trusting connection to a more intimate relationship with a woman can be both exciting and daunting. Unfortunately, skewed perceptions of female pleasure, influenced by unrealistic portrayals in pornography, can leave many men ill-equipped to satisfy women sexually. Sex in real life is often vastly different than what's portrayed in porn. Porn often focuses more on male pleasure while neglecting the realities of female pleasure and orgasm, including the importance of emotional connection, foreplay, and open communication about sexual needs and boundaries. Moreover, porn often depicts women as always ready for sex and able to achieve orgasm quickly and from penetration alone, which isn't the case for most women. Short-form note. Some porn companies and directors are trying to rectify the myths of female sexuality that have been perpetuated by the porn industry. Directors like Erica Lust and Shine Louise Houston are at the forefront of a feminist porn movement that prioritizes genuine pleasure, consent, and egalitarian representation. They create content that celebrates sexual diversity, emphasizes female agency, and stresses the importance of ethical production practices. By portraying sex as a mutually satisfying activity that values the needs and boundaries of all participants, feminist porn producers hope to offer a more balanced understanding of intimacy and partnership. In the next section, we'll explain how you can ensure a woman enjoys sex, including prioritizing foreplay, paying attention to her physical and verbal cues, performing oral sex, experimenting, and maintaining emotional connection post-sex. Prioritize foreplay. The authors stress that foreplay starts long before the sexual act itself. It begins with small gestures of physical intimacy, attentive listening, and genuine compliments throughout the day. Building anticipation heightens desire and can make the sexual experience more pleasurable. Try sending a flirty text or taking opportunities to touch your partner throughout the day. Short-form note. Some experts define foreplay as an ongoing process or cycle that continues throughout a relationship. It begins after the last orgasm, continues until the next one, and then starts again immediately after. They argue that the best way to practice foreplay is by embracing a specific mindset that shapes how you view your partner and your relationship. If you adopt a playful, inquisitive, and sometimes teasing mindset, it will keep your relationship in a near-constant state of flirtation and anticipation, stave off dullness, and allow you to handle conflict without turning to contempt. The authors say that in addition to building anticipation, the importance of physical foreplay for women immediately prior to sex can't be overstated. Foreplay can include kissing and lightly touching her nipples or other erogenous zones. Gentle caresses on these zones can stimulate nerve pathways and release oxytocin, a hormone integral to sexual arousal. Additionally, don't ignore often neglected spots such as the neck or the small of her back. Every woman responds differently, and open communication is vital in discerning your partner's preferences when it comes to foreplay. Short-form note. The authors say that foreplay is fundamental for a sexual encounter because women require anticipation to become properly aroused. Whereas sex begins in the body for men, sex begins in the mind for women. This is due to the different levels of testosterone between men and women. Testosterone is the hormone that causes physiological desire and is typically much higher in men than in women. Consequently, women need more mental stimulation, what the authors call anticipation, than men to get sufficiently aroused. Go down on her. For many women, pleasure hinges on whether their partner goes down on them. Many women can achieve orgasm more easily, or only, through oral stimulation rather than penetrative sex. The authors encourage men to learn about and become comfortable with going down on their partner regularly. How to go down on her. Ian Kerner's approach to cunnilingus in She Comes First can be summarized in 4 steps geared toward building arousal and ultimately, leading a woman to orgasm through oral stimulation. Kerner's steps are as follows. Step number 1. First contact. Kerner begins by stressing the importance of a comfortable and practical position with the woman on her back, legs slightly bent, and a pillow for support. The build-up to the first kiss includes teasing the area around her vulva with pursed lips, heightening anticipation. First contact with the clitoris should be a measured, gentle lick from the vaginal entrance over the clitoral head, pausing to apply light pressure with the tip of the tongue. Step number 2. Rhythm. Creating a rhythm with your tongue strokes is crucial, alternating between motion and stillness to amplify arousal without overstimulating. Kerner says that after establishing the basic rhythm, you should avoid direct clitoral stimulation at times to let anticipation build, focusing instead on surrounding areas. When returning to the clitoral head, gentle pressure can be applied with the tongue's tip. Step number 3. Manual stimulation. As arousal continues to mount, Kerner advises the introduction of manual stimulation. Begin with light touches around the labia and gradually move to more involved techniques, such as inserting a finger into the vagina and employing a come-hither motion to stimulate the G-spot, while the other hand can be used for added support and stimulation. Step number 4. Approaching orgasm. To guide her toward orgasm, Kerner recommends increasing pressure on the clitoral head with consistent tongue sweeps while providing points of resistance, such as pressing against her front commissure. Keeping one hand under her buttocks can aid in this. As the orgasm approaches, indicators include rapid breathing, heightened muscle tension, and physiological responses indicating climax. Maintaining continuous stimulation through her orgasm ensures a more complete and satisfying experience. Pay attention to physical and verbal cues. When you're engaging in foreplay, going down on your partner, or having penetrative sex, pay attention to her body language and verbal cues. Note her breath. If it becomes faster or heavier, it's a good sign she's enjoying what you're doing. Watch her physical responses. Her body might arch or move in rhythm with your touch if she's aroused. Her facial expressions can also provide valuable feedback. Verbal cues, such as moans or words of encouragement, are also important indicators of her pleasure. And always, if you don't know if she likes something or what she wants, just ask. Short form. Women's physical and verbal cues don't always accurately represent their pleasure experience. As Meg Ryan famously demonstrates in the deli scene in When Harry Met Sally, a woman can easily fake an orgasm. A study by British researchers found that 80% of women reported having faked orgasms during sex. Interestingly, the act of faking orgasms isn't solely confined to heterosexual relationships. One study noted women in same-sex relationships also admitted to periodically faking orgasms. Faking orgasms can be motivated by complicated emotional and psychological factors, including the desire to protect a partner's feelings, address self-consciousness, or reduce personal discomfort during sex. Experiment. Mixing things up and experimenting ensures sex doesn't become routine, write the authors. This may involve changing sexual positions or rhythm during intercourse. Sometimes women may enjoy slow, gentle rhythms or other times a faster pace. Different positions can also stimulate different areas, increasing pleasure. Short-form note: while experimentation can keep things exciting, not everyone likes to shake things up. Shifting sexual norms have empowered people to experiment with different types of sex that may have previously been considered taboo. However, some argue the newest sexual revolution has unintentionally fostered a culture of vanilla shaming. Vanilla sex often refers to traditional sex, or sex devoid of any kink and fetishes. Some argue that an unintended side effect of the sex-positive movement is that people who prefer traditional, so-called vanilla sex feel judged or stigmatized. By creating a dichotomy where vanilla is viewed as lesser, there's the risk of replacing one oppressive norm with another. Stay connected. Finally, the authors point out that intimacy doesn't end when sex is over. Staying connected post-sex, through cuddling, gentle touches, or loving words, can enhance a woman's sexual satisfaction and deepen the emotional bond between partners. This ties back to the idea that pleasing a woman sexually isn't just about the physical act but also about emotional connection and ongoing intimacy. Short-form note: the authors say that to continue having good sex in the future, you should cuddle, talk, and spend some time together after your session. While staying connected is important and you don't need to hop out of bed immediately, experts note a few more post-sex tasks that are necessary if you want to have good sex in the future. 1. Clean up. Wash your hands, genitals, and any sex toys you used. This will prevent possible infections that can make sex painful. 2. Go pee. This flushes out bacteria that may have entered your urethra during sex and can cause uncomfortable infections. 3. Wear loose clothing. Tight clothing can create a moist, warm environment where bacteria like yeast thrive. How to handle conflict. Once you move past the sex-addled honeymoon phase of a relationship, conflicts are bound to arise. Conflicts can damage a relationship if couples resort to coping mechanisms like criticism, defensiveness, contempt, or stonewalling. However, the authors explain that managing conflict effectively is a powerful way to strengthen your relationship. The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse in Relationships. In the 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work, John and Julie Gottman elaborate on how poor conflict management can degrade a marriage over time. They use the metaphor of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse from the biblical book of Revelation to describe 4 negative communication styles that can cause serious harm to a relationship. These 4 horsemen are criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. 1. Criticism. This isn't just voicing a complaint or critique, which focus on specific instances or actions. Criticism, as per the Gottman's definition, involves attacking your partner's personality or character, usually with the intent of making someone right and someone wrong. It often includes blame and generalizations, such as, "you always," or "you never." 2. Contempt. This is when one person feels superior to others. It includes sarcasm, cynicism, sneering, mockery, and eye-rolling. Contempt is destructive to a relationship because it makes the other person feel despised and worthless. This horseman is considered the most harmful one as it conveys disgust and disrespect. 3. Defensiveness. This horseman often enters when criticism and contempt have been present. Instead of addressing the issue, the defensive partner redirects the focus onto themselves, behaving as if they are the victim. Defensiveness also escalates conflict rather than resolving it, as it justifies your own actions and blames the problem on your partner. 4. Stonewalling. This horseman arrives when a person withdraws from the interaction, shutting down and closing themselves off from their partner. This typically happens as a response to feeling physiologically overwhelmed, and it often takes the form of looking away, silence, monosyllabic answers, changing the subject, or physically leaving the situation without explanation. When one partner goes into stonewalling mode, it can make the other partner feel ignored or abandoned, further escalating the conflict. Regulate your emotions. First, the authors recommend you pay attention to your physiological response during conflicts. Men often experience a state of emotional flooding when in conflict, characterized by a need to defend, an emotional shutdown, and an inability to self-soothe. In fact, research shows that men tend to become more overwhelmed than women in conflict situations. If you feel overwhelmed in a conflict, the authors recommend using self-soothing techniques such as deep breathing or taking a break from the conversation. However, the authors suggest you communicate your need for this break to your partner to avoid them feeling abandoned or rejected. You can do this by explaining that you're feeling overwhelmed and making a plan for when you'll come back together to finish the conversation. How your attachment style impacts your response to conflict. In Attached, Amir Levine and Rachel Heller contend that individual responses to conflict, such as emotional flooding, align more closely with one's attachment style, be it secure, anxious, or avoidant, than with their gender. For example, an avoidant individual may seem distant or defensive, not due to an innate inability to cope with conflict, but as a mechanism to maintain self-reliance and emotional distance. Understanding these attachment-driven behaviors provides a framework that transcends gender stereotypes, suggesting that both men and women can exhibit a range of responses based on their attachment histories. Levine and Heller add that if you become emotionally flooded, communicating your need for a break is especially important if your partner has an insecure attachment style. An insecure attachment style, whether anxious or avoidant, can make a partner particularly sensitive to breaks in communication during a conflict. By explicitly affirming your commitment to the relationship and setting a concrete time to continue the conversation, you help mitigate any fears of abandonment your partner might have. This transparent approach honors your need for emotional regulation but also considers your partner's attachment needs. Listen and ask questions. The authors explain that when a woman brings a problem to a man's attention, it's often a bid for connection rather than a desire for immediate problem-solving. She wants to be heard and understood. Rather than viewing conflict as a problem to be solved, you can approach the situation with curiosity. Ask open-ended questions to better understand your partner's perspective, feelings, concerns, and needs. This active listening approach can go a long way in resolving conflicts and strengthening your connection. Short-form note: sometimes physical touch is enough to show your partner you're listening. Researchers have found that showing physical affection during conflict can help couples manage disagreements more effectively because it reduces stress, increases empathy, and makes partners feel closer. In one study, couples who held hands during a tense discussion not only reported feeling less stress during the conversation but also engaged in more constructive conflict behaviors. However, for couples struggling with serious ongoing issues, physical touch can also be interpreted negatively, particularly if it's seen as a tool of control or manipulation. How to know when to commit. According to the authors, most men and women want to be in a committed relationship. Research supports the benefits of commitment, with studies showing that men in committed relationships are happier, healthier, earn more money, and live longer. But how do you know when a woman is the one you want to settle down with? Short-form note. While studies suggest that married men are happier and live longer, the same can't be said of women. According to Paul Dolan, a professor of behavioral science at the London School of Economics, women who are unmarried and childless are the happiest subgroup in the population. Dolan explains that this subset of women often enjoy increased autonomy, facing less pressure to conform to the traditional and often stressful roles of wife and mother. Without the added responsibilities of marriage and children, they are also freer to nurture their social connections, careers, and personal interests. As a result, these women often experience lower levels of stress and greater overall life satisfaction. The authors explain that men typically go through 3 stages in a relationship before knowing they want to commit. The first stage, limerence, is characterized by intense infatuation. The authors caution against making rash commitment decisions during this phase, as the lust you feel isn't necessarily indicative of lasting love. The second stage, often lasting the first couple of years of a relationship, is when conflicts arise and trust is built or broken. In the third stage, commitment is solidified, with both partners willing to practice monogamy and mutual sacrifice. This stage is about continuing to deepen the relationship and grow together. Short-form note. The authors detail the conventional trajectory of relationships, from the initial attraction to committed monogamy. However, the relational landscape is expanding as increasing numbers of people explore less traditional partnerships, such as polyamory and open relationships. In the Bible of Non-Monogamy, The Ethical Slut, 1997, Dossie Easton and Janet Hardy advocate for these alternative relationship models, highlighting the importance of open communication and honesty over exclusivity in a partnership. Easton and Hardy discuss the common issues of jealousy and a sense of ownership found in both monogamous and non-monogamous dynamics and provide practical guidelines for engaging in what they call ethical non-monogamy. The authors propose key questions to help you determine if you're ready to commit to one woman. 1. Do you feel comfortable and relaxed around her? 2. Does she make you feel confident, attractive, and loved? And 3. Do you like who you are around her? The authors emphasize that shared interests are less important than what it feels like to be together, but similar ways of expressing and receiving emotion, particularly affection, can be helpful. Short-form note. In The Defining Decade, Meg J. recommends considering not only how a potential partner makes you feel, but also how you feel around their family. J. argues that the decision to commit to a partner shouldn't be based exclusively on their family, but if there's a lack of comfort with your prospective in-laws, it's important to examine your choice closely. Discomfort with a partner's family may reflect more profound value differences that have the potential to affect long-term contentment and compatibility in the relationship. How to navigate becoming parents. Before entering a committed relationship, the authors suggest talking about whether you want kids. They caution that divergent views on children are often a deal-breaker. And, even if you both decide you want children, the dramatic addition of a baby will still test the relationship. Short-form note. Several studies have indicated that marriage satisfaction often declines with the birth of a child due to increased stress and shifting dynamics within the partnership. Part of this challenge stems from the traditional and unequal distribution of labor at home. Women tend to take on more of the child-rearing duties and housework, even when they are working full-time jobs, leading to stress and potential resentment. This imbalance affects not only the relationship's dynamic but also has practical implications for women's careers and personal development. The authors explain that if you do decide to have a baby, Men play a crucial role in supporting their partners during the transition to motherhood. During pregnancy, childbirth, and the early stages of infancy, your partner needs your support more than ever. The physical and emotional changes a woman undergoes during these phases are intense, and the presence of a supportive partner can greatly alleviate stress and anxiety. Your partner will need reassurance, comfort, and practical support. Short-form note. In addition, couples shouldn't neglect their relationship amidst the life-changing event of welcoming a new child. In And Baby Makes Three, the Gottmans stress the importance of continuing to invest in your romantic relationship, which can easily become sidelined with the arrival of a baby. The authors suggest expressing appreciation daily and carving out quality time, however short, to maintain an emotional connection. Lastly, they encourage couples to develop a strong support network that can provide critical relief, allowing couples to occasionally step back from parental duties to focus on each other and preserve the intimacy of their partnership. The type of support you offer will be different at every stage, say the authors. During pregnancy, you can attend prenatal classes and doctor's appointments. Help set up the nursery and make decisions about baby items. During this time, you can take on more household chores and responsibilities, such as cooking meals or doing laundry. After the baby arrives, there will be even more laundry to do. In addition, you can change diapers and take on some of the feedings, if you and your partner decide to introduce bottles. Postpartum depression. When practical support isn't enough. While providing practical support is crucial in the postpartum period, it often isn't enough to combat postpartum depression, PPD, a serious mental health condition and a debilitating mood disorder that sometimes affects new mothers. PPD is characterized by severe emotional distress and a diminished capacity for coping with the demands of motherhood and daily life after giving birth. Practical tasks like childcare and household chores, while helpful, don't address the underlying emotional and psychological struggles of PPD. Symptoms of PPD include persistent feelings of sadness, anxiety, or emptiness, and can manifest in physical symptoms and intense mood swings, and, in severe cases, thoughts of wanting to harm the baby or oneself. According to the U.S. Office on Women's Health, it's essential for partners to encourage open dialogue about mental well-being and to support the affected parent in seeking professional help. This may involve facilitating appointments with healthcare providers, exploring therapy options, or joining support groups. PPD is treatable with the right support and resources, and early intervention is key in supporting new mothers struggling with PPD. By showing up and being supportive, say the authors, you deepen the bond with your partner and also begin to establish your own relationship with your child. Fathers play an important role in children's lives. While it's common to feel jealous of the attention and time given to a new baby, focus on building your own relationship with your child. Short-form note. According to the Fatherhood Project, a non-profit initiative dedicated to enhancing the health and well-being of children and families, actively involved fathers play a pivotal role in their children's development. Children with involved fathers exhibit higher levels of cognitive competence, educational achievement, and career success. These children are also less prone to behavioral problems and criminal activity. The authors write that engaging in play is a key aspect of this bonding process. Not only does it provide an opportunity for physical stimulation, but it also fosters an environment for the child to explore. This active engagement can significantly contribute to the child's developmental progress and helps build empathy. How to play with kids at every age. Engaging with children through play at every age is crucial for their development. It promotes learning, strengthens bonds, and helps children discover the world around them. Adjusting activities to match each developmental stage ensures that play remains both fun and beneficial. For newborns, 0 to 3 months, sensory exploration like listening to music and looking at high-contrast objects helps stimulate their developing senses. As your baby gets older, 3 to 6 months, try introducing rattles, playing peek-a-boo, and making funny faces to encourage tactile and visual exploration. Older infants, 6 to 12 months, enjoy object exploration and simple games, with toys of different textures and sounds being particularly engaging. For toddlers, 1 to 3 years, physical and pretend play is key. Building blocks and dressing up are great activities. With preschoolers, 3 to 5 years, dive into imaginative play, cooperative games, arts, and crafts, which foster creativity and social skills. School-age children, 5 to 12 years, progress to more complex games, puzzles, and team sports, which help in cognitive and physical development. Teenagers, 13 years and up, prefer social interactions, often with their peers, competitive games, and pursuing personal interests like art or music. Cater to your teenagers' need for independence and self-exploration. How to build a relationship that lasts. According to the authors, everyone wants to build the kind of relationship that lasts a lifetime. They argue that to build a mutually fulfilling and resilient relationship, you need to continue to work on and invest in your relationship. They offer the following strategies as tools for anyone who wants to strengthen and deepen their relationship. Short-form note. Inherent in the author's discussion of how to make romantic relationships last is the assumption that people want to stay in long-term relationships. However, according to some experts, not all long-term relationships are healthy, and many people find themselves stuck in emotionally or physically abusive relationships. In Why Does He Do That? Lundy Bancroft defines abuse as controlling, angry, and violent behavior committed by someone against their partner. If you or someone you know is in an abusive relationship, the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence offers a comprehensive list of resources. Keep dating. The authors recommend that you never stop dating your partner, even after years of being together. They suggest having at least one designated date night per week. This practice not only breaks the monotony of your daily routine, but also ensures you prioritize spending time with and continuing to get to know your partner. Short-form note. A 2012 survey by the National Marriage Project revealed that couples who prioritized a weekly date night were about 3.5 times more likely to describe themselves as feeling very happy than couples who had less than weekly date nights. Studies suggest that date nights strengthen relationships by improving communication, introducing novelty, lowering stress, and increasing feelings of romantic attraction and commitment. As a practical tip, the authors are strong proponents of the 6-second kiss, suggesting that you should kiss your partner for at least 6 seconds every time you separate or reconnect as a simple yet powerful way to maintain intimacy. Does the 6-second kiss really work? While no isolated study specifically validates the power of the 6-second kiss, John Gottman's research underlines the significance of positive interactions, showing that a ratio of more positive moments to negative ones predicts marital satisfaction. A 6-second kiss is an example of a meaningful positive interaction that contributes to a healthy relationship dynamic. Also, physical affection, including kissing, triggers the release of oxytocin, known as the love hormone, fostering bonding and closeness. This physiological response supports the idea that practices like the 6-second kiss increase emotional intimacy. Moreover, Gottman's research highlights the importance of rituals of connection, intentional acts that maintain the relationship's bond. The 6-second kiss serves as a simple, effective ritual, providing a deliberate moment of connection amidst life's busyness. Stay curious. The authors also emphasize the importance of staying curious about your partner. They argue that complacency and taking your partner for granted are significant pitfalls in a long-term relationship. Instead, they encourage you to continually strive to understand your partner's evolving thoughts, feelings, dreams, and perspectives. By staying curious, you demonstrate to your partner that you value her as an individual and are genuinely interested in her personal growth and experiences. This sustained curiosity can lead to a richer, more fulfilling relationship where both partners feel acknowledged and valued. Short-form note. One of the best ways to practice curiosity is through active listening. In coactive coaching, the authors outline 3 levels of listening, the last of which is the most effective in building intimacy. Level 1, internal listening, is when the listener is focused on their own thoughts and feelings instead of being fully present or engaged with the speaker. Level 2, focused listening, is when the listener is fully present and engaged with the speaker, paying attention to both verbal and nonverbal cues. Level 3, the most effective level of listening, is global listening. At this level, the listener isn't only listening to the words being spoken, but also to the emotions, values, and intentions behind those words. Invest in her dreams. According to the authors, a long-lasting relationship depends on both partners' willingness to support and encourage their partner's ambitions and aspirations. You can always offer words of encouragement and affirmation. There will also be times when you may need to take on more responsibility in your home life to allow your partner time to build a business plan, take an important meeting, or explore a new passion. And always take advantage of opportunities to celebrate your partner's achievements, with a home-cooked meal, flowers, or a small celebration with family and friends. This kind of emotional and practical investment demonstrates that you value and respect your partner's individuality and personal growth. It also fosters a supportive and encouraging environment in the relationship, making your partner feel understood, appreciated, and loved. Short-form note. While the authors emphasize the importance of supporting your partner, Rollo Tomassi, author of The Rational Male, argues that your support of your partner should never come at the expense of your own aspirations. Rollo advocates for men to cultivate their own mental point of origin, which involves prioritizing their own needs and aspirations. Tomassi asserts that one can be supportive of a partner while still maintaining a focus on personal goals and self-improvement. He stresses that a man's identity shouldn't be overly influenced or altered by his partner's expectations or societal pressures to conform to certain relationship roles. Ultimately, the authors emphasize that when it comes to a relationship, all you can do is love, seek to understand, and continuously learn about your partner. This process will strengthen your connection with your partner, and as an added bonus, often leads to self-discovery and personal growth as well. Short-form note. In his seminal work I and Thou, philosopher Martin Buber contends that human existence is fundamentally relational, and it's through relationships based on mutual openness, presence, and authenticity that we access deeper levels of being. Buber would argue that it's through these I-Thou relationships that we transcend our isolated self, encountering not only the true essence of the other person but also discovering the unknown facets of our own selves, thereby fostering profound personal transformation and growth.